Listening to players is one of the most important things for a game, which is the reason why many AAA titles don't live up to the expectations.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
While on the contrary, many indie games knock it out of the park. Since early tests, I have taken players' feedback very seriously. Each test showed where there was room for improvement. Then I released a demo for a small group of players and gathered their feedbacks. From all of this, sometimes you understand that you have to improve or change gameplay mechanics. For example, one of the early tests showed that some skills were underwhelming and needed either a big buff or to be different. In other cases, you understand that the content itself needs to be better. For example, could be that a dialogue seems flat or a level needs more sound effects. But most of the time, you see that there are barriers to playing the game, and all of them are problems that need to be solved. Simply put, it's necessary to make playing the game as easy as possible, not to be mistaken with making the game difficulty easy. What are the barriers I'm talking about? Specifically to Biosynth, we encountered frequently three types of barriers: quality of life features, navigability, and accessing the game. Quality of life features are the ones that lead to a smoother gaming experience. Previously, we developed quite a bunch of these. Here are a few examples. The chests were hard to spot, so we made it possible to highlight on the level objects with which you can interact, with the click of a button. It was a great feature, so we decided to make it work also with destructibles, ladders and doors. Another useful feature was a widget that allowed the player to see the turn sequence during combat, and which character is currently in its turn. Since this RPG has turn-based combat, it was crucial to have a function like this, to better understand what's going on and strategize your way to victory. In an RPG like this, it's of vital importance to have the combat work as smooth as possible. This means that you want to be sure to add all the important information. That's why we added a function to show the path a character will walk if moving during combat, and another function to show the trajectory of your ranged weapon. The final touch to this was adding what we call air shapes to signal that at the end of its moving path, a character will fire an attack. We recently expanded this feature and we'll discuss about this later on in this video, so be sure to watch it till the end. Briefly, other quality of life features we built for Biosynth are audio control settings, map markers for your party, points of interest and quests, mouse indicators, descriptions for key attributes, and class skill trees during character creation. Now, moving to the next part. Would you play a game where you have to put a lot of effort in just navigating the levels? No, you won't. Of course, unless you are playing a platformer or a game that challenges you with its level design, which for sure isn't the case of an isometric RPG like this. The levels need to be interesting and present challenges, but they have to be easily navigable. That's one of the reasons why we decided to rebuild the slums map in Biosynth. The original level was hard to navigate. With a bigger focus on navigability, we got to build something that worked way better, even though we are still trying to improve things. Other than that, since its introduction, we have been working on the dreaded Ladder of Death. This element deserved this name not because it killed characters, but because it killed our souls time and time again. Refining this has been the longest challenge in our development. Every time we think we finally completed the work on the ladder, a new hard-to-fix bug appears. But one step at a time, it's getting better and better. And if you're wondering why don't we just get rid of the ladders, well, we can't. With levels of such a verticality, these ladders are necessary to save time when wandering around. Also, let me say that after the demo release, we further improved the navigability thanks to an interesting feature that we'll share in a few minutes. Imagine this, you finally get your hands on a game you were craving to play. You click the icon and launch the game, just to discover that it doesn't start. How would you feel? That's an extreme example, but you get the idea. The game has to be accessible to make players feel good. Do you know why studios optimize their games? Because an optimized game can run on more devices and will also grant players a better overall experience. When we were building BioSynth initially, we tried to get to a prototype as fast as possible. This means that you can spend time refining everything and optimizing the game's performance. But once we got where we wanted to arrive, the name of the game changed. Sure, BioSynth was running smoothly on the high-end PCs we used to build it. But how is it going to run on the players' PCs? So we started working on optimizing it. Among the many tasks that we completed, a key piece for the optimization was rebuilding the material system. Thanks to smart choices, we got to both improve the game's performance and have a better look for materials. That's just an example, but there are a lot of things that you can do to make a game more accessible, including this recent feature addition to the game that we'll talk about in a few seconds. Okay, so you saw a bunch of improvements we brought to BioSynth during its whole development, but what about the recent ones? BioSynth's demo has been out for a few weeks now, enough time to gather quite a few feedbacks and start working on those. There's a big new feature that we'll share in an upcoming video, so be sure to subscribe not to miss it. Apart from that, we added feature types that are about what we are saying in this video. Let's start with an important quality of life feature, the trajectory for bombs. Before this feature, you could only see the area of effect for the bomb you were throwing, but you couldn't know if the path was interrupted. To tell it all, there was a bug because of which you could throw your bomb through walls. Now that is fixed, and you can see if the bomb trajectory reaches the target or is interrupted. Another new feature we built helps navigability. It's super hard to make a cyberpunk city environment with a lot of verticality easily navigable with an isometric view. For example, many buildings, pipes, cables, and dozens other things will be in front of the camera sooner or later. At first, we thought about fixing the problem with a solution similar to this. By making objects invisible between the playing character and the camera, you can move without problems. Both Baldur's Gate 3 and Divinity Original Sin 2 adopted this solution to avoid navigation problems. Then we got this right after countless attempts and realized that it couldn't be the solution we were looking for. A fantasy environment is very different from a cyberpunk one. In a fantasy world, most of the times, between your character and the camera there's only going to be a tree or a rock. Making it invisible is kind of easy and a great solution. But when you have to make invisible multiple layers of walls, a screen, a pipe, some wires, and a street lamp all together, that's a real challenge. It doesn't always work as you wish. And even if it does, it's costly on your computer performance. So we tried a totally different strategy, and it seems to be working incredibly well. When an object gets between your character and the camera will simply move in front of the object. We'll have to fine-tune the feature and gather players' feedbacks about it, but we are confident that this is the best solution for our specific case. Another important feature we added recently is about accessibility. One of the players told us that his computer was boiling while running the game, so we added an option to limit frame rate. This also made us start to work on video settings so that you can customize the graphic quality when playing BioSynth. One by one, we'll be sure to turn all the players' feedback into reality, which, by the way, is the reason why you should tell all your friends about BioSynth. Who does that in today's gaming world?